What if I told you that right now, somewhere in Dubai's glittering towers, there's a millionaire walking free who knows exactly how a 23-year-old student really died? What if I told you that her final text message, sent just 1 hour before her death, completely destroys the official story that authorities want you to believe? Tonight, I'm going to share with you a story that will make you question everything you think you know about justice, power, and the price of silence. This isn't just another case file gathering dust. This is about Natalia Petrov, a brilliant architecture student whose dreams were crushed by a man who believed his wealth could buy him anything, including the perfect cover-up. But here's what really gets me fired up. How many of you have ever felt completely powerless against someone with money and influence? Have you ever watched someone abuse their position while everyone around them just looks the other way? If you're nodding right now, then you already understand why this story matters so much. See, we live in a world where the ultra-rich play by different rules. They attend different parties, drive different cars, live in different neighborhoods, and when they mess up, they face different consequences. While you and I would be sitting in a cell. Within hours, they're making phone calls to their powerful friends, arranging meetings with the right people, and ensuring that inconvenient truths simply disappear. Natalia's mother spent 3 years fighting for answers that should have been obvious from day one. 3 years of being told to move on, to accept the tragic accident, to stop asking difficult questions. But what she discovered will absolutely shock you, and it should make you furious too. Here's the thing that bothers me most. Thousands of you watch these videos every week. You learn these life-saving lessons, you see how dangerous people operate. But only a tiny fraction of you actually subscribe to support this content. If this channel disappeared tomorrow, where would you go to learn how to protect yourself and the people you love? Where would you find the truth that mainstream media won't tell you? Dubai sells itself as a paradise where dreams come true, where success is just one deal away, where the impossible becomes possible every single day. But behind those golden facades and crystal-clear pools, there exists a shadow world where young women become disposable, where justice can be purchased like a luxury handbag, and where asking the wrong questions can be very, very dangerous. By the end of this video, you're going to know exactly how a powerful man turned a promising student into his personal possession. You'll understand the sophisticated methods he used to control her every move. Most importantly, you'll learn the warning signs that could save someone you care about from becoming the next Natalia. Because what happened to her wasn't random, it was completely predictable once you understand how predators think. Let me introduce you to the two people whose collision would end in tragedy. A predator disguised as a mentor, and a brilliant young woman who never saw the trap being set. Idris Al-Mansouri arrived in Dubai 20 years ago with nothing but ambition burning in his chest. Born to a working-class family in Morocco, he understood poverty in ways that would later fuel his obsession with control. By 2022, this self-made millionaire owned luxury hotels, exclusive nightclubs, and prime real estate worth over $50 million. But money wasn't enough. Idris craved power over people, especially beautiful young women who reminded him of everything he couldn't have in his youth. His friends described him as charming, generous, and incredibly persuasive. Women who dated him initially felt like princesses. He would shower them with designer gifts, exotic vacations, and access to Dubai's most exclusive circles. But those who stayed long enough learned the terrifying truth. Idris viewed women as collectibles, beautiful objects to be owned, controlled, and discarded when they no longer served his needs. His pattern was always the same. Target ambitious young women who were struggling financially. Offer mentorship and financial support. Slowly isolate them from friends and family. Create complete financial dependence. Then unleash his true nature. Possessive, violent, and absolutely ruthless when defied. Now meet Natalia Petrov, 23 years old, studying architecture on a scholarship that barely covered her basic expenses. She worked part-time as an event hostess to afford food and textbooks. Her dream was simple. Graduate, land a position with a prestigious firm, and bring her mother from Ukraine to live in safety and comfort. Natalia possessed something that money can't buy. Genuine intelligence, curiosity about the world, and an infectious laugh that could light up any room. Her classmates remember her staying up all night helping struggling students with their projects, never expecting anything in return. She sent half of her hostess earnings home to her mother every month, even when it meant surviving on instant noodles. But here's what made Natalia particularly vulnerable. She had grown up in poverty and instability. The promise of security, of never worrying about rent or groceries again, of finally being able to help her family. These weren't just attractive offers. They felt like answered prayers. This is exactly why I need you to hit that like button right now. Every single time you like videos like this, you're supporting content that exposes how predators operate. You're helping other young people recognize these patterns before it's too late. If you can't even tap a button to support victim stories, how can you claim to care about justice? The power imbalance between these two was staggering. Idris had unlimited resources, connections throughout Dubai's business and social elite, and years of experience manipulating vulnerable women. Natalia had her intelligence, her determination, and her trust in others, qualities that would ultimately be used against her. When they met at that yacht party, Natalia saw a successful businessman offering genuine mentorship. She believed his promises about introducing her to influential architects and investors. She thought his interest in her career was professional respect for her talents. Idris saw something completely different. A beautiful, intelligent young woman with no powerful connections, no financial safety net, and no understanding of how dangerous men like him really operate. To him, Natalia wasn't a person with dreams and ambitions. She was prey. What happened next wasn't random. It wasn't a tragic accident or a series of unfortunate events. It was the inevitable result of a calculated predator meeting his perfect victim. And that's what makes this case so absolutely terrifying. The yacht party where their paths crossed wasn't just any gathering. It was a carefully curated display of wealth designed to overwhelm and intoxicate anyone who wasn't accustomed to such luxury. Crystal champagne flutes worth more than most people's monthly salary, live musicians flown in from Paris, and a guest list that read like Dubai's most exclusive social registry. Natalia arrived that evening wearing a simple black dress she'd borrowed from a friend, completely unaware that she was walking into a predator's hunting ground. The moment Idris spotted her across the deck, his entire demeanor changed. Multiple witnesses later described how his eyes locked onto her like a laser, how he abandoned his conversation mid-sentence and began moving in her direction. His approach was masterful. No crude pickup lines or obvious advances. Instead, he positioned himself near the architectural models that decorated the yacht's main salon, waiting for her natural curiosity to draw her in. When she approached to examine the intricate miniature buildings, he casually mentioned that he owned the originals. "Are you interested in architecture?" he asked, as if he didn't already know everything about her from the event's guest list. "I've been looking for someone with a fresh perspective to consult on my new hotel project." Within minutes, he was offering her opportunities that would have taken years to achieve through traditional channels. Private meetings with renowned architects, invitations to exclusive industry events, access to construction sites worth hundreds of millions of dollars. To a struggling student working multiple jobs just to survive, these weren't just generous offers. They were life-changing possibilities. But here's where it gets calculated. Idris didn't just offer professional opportunities. He began subtly probing her personal life. Where was she from? How did she afford to study in Dubai? What did her family back home do for work? Each innocent question gave him ammunition to craft the perfect psychological trap. Do you know someone who's been completely blinded by luxury and lost sight of their own safety? Someone who got so caught up in expensive gifts and exclusive experiences that they ignored every red flag screaming at them to run? If you're thinking of someone right now, you need to understand exactly how this manipulation works. The gifts started immediately. The next day, a designer handbag arrived at her apartment with a note: "For our future business collaborations." A week later, it was jewelry. Then came the apartment upgrade, from her cramped shared accommodation to a luxury marina residence with floor-to-ceiling windows and a stunning view of the Palm. Each gift came with the same message: "You deserve this. You're special. You're different from other women I've met." But these weren't gifts, they were golden handcuffs. Every expensive item created debt and obligation. Every luxury experience made her previous life seem unbearable by comparison. Every upgrade in her lifestyle made the thought of returning to her old reality absolutely terrifying. The warning signs were everywhere, but Idris was brilliant at providing explanations that seemed reasonable. Why did he need to know her location constantly? Dubai can be dangerous for beautiful young women. Why couldn't she spend time with male classmates? I don't want people thinking our professional relationship is inappropriate. Why did he become furious when she mentioned other career opportunities? I've invested so much in your future. Don't you think you owe me some loyalty? Drop a comment right now and tell me, what's the biggest red flag you've learned to recognize in controlling relationships? Because I guarantee someone reading this needs to hear your experience. Your comment could literally save someone's life. Here's what really infuriates me. While you're learning these crucial life lessons that could protect you and everyone you love, most viewers won't even subscribe to support this content. If recognizing dangerous people isn't worth a simple subscription, what is? How many more people need to suffer before we start taking this seriously? Natalia's friends later described how she began changing during those first few months. Her infectious laughter became rare. She stopped joining study groups. Her texts became shorter, more guarded. The vibrant, independent woman they knew was slowly being replaced by someone anxious, isolated, and completely dependent on Idris's approval. The trap was closing, and she had no idea how deadly it was about to become. May 15, 2022. The date that would forever change everything. Idris had planned what he called an intimate gathering at his penthouse. 12 carefully selected guests, premium champagne, and a view of the Burj Khalifa that cost him $30 million to own. But this wasn't just another party. This was Idris's response to the ultimatum Natalia had delivered 3 days earlier. She wanted to end their relationship and focus on her upcoming graduation. She was tired of his constant surveillance, his explosive jealousy, and his increasingly violent outbursts. She had even started secretly saving money to move back to her old apartment. 7:30 p.m. Natalia arrived 40 minutes late, having spent the afternoon with her roommate Aisha, discussing her exit strategy. Security footage from the building lobby shows her hesitating before entering the elevator, checking her phone repeatedly. Her final text to Aisha read, "If you don't hear from me by midnight, something's wrong." 8:15 p.m. Guests later described the tension as suffocating. Natalia barely spoke to anyone, nursing the same glass of wine for over an hour. Idris kept approaching her, whispering urgently in her ear, growing more agitated each time she pulled away. One witness remembered thinking, "Someone's going to get hurt tonight." 9:45 p.m. The confrontation began in front of everyone. Idris grabbed Natalia's arm, demanding to know why she was embarrassing him in front of his friends. When she tried to leave, he blocked her path to the elevator. "You're not going anywhere until we talk," he announced loudly enough for everyone to hear. 10:20 p.m. He forced her into his private office, a soundproof room he'd had specially constructed for sensitive business discussions. 3 guests reported hearing muffled shouting through the thick walls. A woman's voice screaming, "Let me go!" A man's voice responding with threats too violent to repeat here. Here's what you need to understand about dangerous men like Idris. When they realize they're losing control, they don't just give up and walk away. They escalate. They become desperate. They convince themselves that if they can't have you, nobody can. 10:55 p.m. Idris emerged from the office alone, his shirt wrinkled, scratch marks visible on his neck. He walked straight to the bar, downed 3 shots of whiskey, and told his guests that Natalia was resting and wouldn't be rejoining them. When someone asked if she was okay, his response chilled everyone present. "She's exactly where she needs to be." If learning the truth about how predators operate isn't worth a simple subscription, what is? Every week, I expose the tactics that dangerous people use to destroy lives. Every week, you get life-saving information that could protect you or someone you love. Yet most of you watch without subscribing, taking this knowledge for granted until it's too late. 11:30 p.m. The party began winding down, but something had fundamentally changed. Guests were eager to leave. Conversations felt forced. The celebratory atmosphere had been replaced by an uncomfortable awareness that something terrible had happened behind that closed door. 12:15 a.m. The last guests departed, leaving Idris alone in his penthouse with whatever remained of Natalia Petrov. 6:45 a.m. The housekeeper's scream echoed through the empty apartment. She found Natalia's body positioned carefully on the guest bed, fully dressed, with no signs of the struggle that multiple witnesses had heard the night before. But here's where the official story falls apart completely. The crime scene was too perfect. No defensive wounds despite the violent argument. No torn clothing despite the physical confrontation. An empty prescription bottle that toxicology later proved couldn't have contained enough pills to kill her. White powder residue arranged in neat lines on the glass table, as if someone wanted it to be discovered. Most shocking of all, Natalia's phone showed she had tried to call emergency services 3 times between 10:30 and 11 p.m. Each call lasted less than 10 seconds before being disconnected. The final attempt included GPS coordinates that placed her inside Idris's office during the time he claimed she was resting peacefully. The scene wasn't the result of a tragic overdose. It was a carefully constructed performance designed to hide a murder. When paramedics arrived, they immediately noticed inconsistencies that should have triggered a full criminal investigation. Instead, within 6 hours, the case was classified as an accidental death. The body was released for cremation, and the crime scene was cleaned. By sunset that same day, Idris was at his regular table at the Burj Al Arab, having dinner with potential investors, acting as if nothing had happened. What happened next will make you question everything you think you know about justice in the modern world. Within hours of Natalia's body being discovered, a machine designed to protect the wealthy and powerful kicked into overdrive, systematically destroying evidence and silencing witnesses with terrifying efficiency. The first red flag, Detective Ahmad Hassan, the lead investigator initially assigned to the case, was suddenly transferred to a high-priority terrorism investigation just 18 hours after arriving at the crime scene. His replacement was Detective Khalil Mansour, a man whose gambling debts and expensive lifestyle had always raised questions about his additional income sources. The security footage that should have been the cornerstone of any investigation simply vanished. The building management claimed that a power surge had corrupted all data from the previous 48 hours. But electrical engineers hired by Natalia's family later confirmed that no power surge occurred anywhere in the building during that time frame. The cameras hadn't malfunctioned, they had been deliberately wiped. Every guest who attended that final party received the same phone call within 24 hours. The message was simple and chilling. Your cooperation in putting this tragic accident behind us would be greatly appreciated by some very influential people. Most guests immediately booked flights out of Dubai. Those who stayed suddenly developed severe memory problems about everything they had witnessed. The toxicology report that was initially leaked to Natalia's mother revealed something absolutely shocking. The levels of sedatives in her system were consistent with forced ingestion, not voluntary consumption. The report also documented defensive wounds on her hands and arms that were completely absent from the official police photographs. Within a week, that report disappeared from all official files, replaced by a sanitized version that supported the accidental overdose narrative. Dr. Sarah Alzara, the medical examiner who performed the initial autopsy, submitted findings that contradicted the accidental death ruling. She documented evidence of strangulation, blunt force trauma, and signs of a violent struggle. 3 days later, Dr. Alzara was offered a lucrative position with a private medical firm in Switzerland. She accepted immediately and left Dubai without speaking to reporters. Hit that share button right now if you believe the truth matters more than protecting wealthy criminals. Every share spreads awareness about how corruption works at the highest levels. If you can't even share a video exposing murder and cover-ups, what will you stand up for? The cleaning crew that sanitized Idris's penthouse was paid triple their normal rate and required to sign non-disclosure agreements with penalty clauses worth more than most people earn in a lifetime. The housekeeper who discovered Natalia's body was offered a permanent visa and a job in Canada for her entire family. She disappeared from Dubai within a month. But here's the most infuriating part. The phone records that proved Natalia had tried calling emergency services were declared inadmissible due to technical irregularities. The GPS data showing her location during the murder was dismissed as potentially compromised. Every piece of evidence that contradicted the official story was systematically discredited or destroyed. Meanwhile, Idris was busy making generous donations to local police charities, hosting fundraisers for government officials, and expanding his business relationships with some of Dubai's most connected families. Money didn't just buy his freedom, it purchased complete immunity from consequences. The case file was sealed to protect the dignity of the deceased and her family. Translation: to prevent anyone from asking uncomfortable questions about how a murder investigation became a bureaucratic cover-up in less than a week. How many more Natalias are suffering in silence right now because wealthy predators know they can literally get away with murder? How many families are being told to move on and accept tragic accidents while the real killers walk free? The machine designed to protect people like Idris doesn't just hide individual crimes, it sends a message to every other vulnerable person. No one will save you if you threaten the wrong powerful man. This wasn't just a cover-up. It was a demonstration of absolute power, a warning to anyone who might consider speaking truth to wealth. 3,000 miles away in a small Ukrainian apartment, Olga Petrov received the phone call that would consume the rest of her life. Her daughter was dead, they told her. A tragic accident involving drugs and alcohol. The body would be flown home for burial within 72 hours. But Olga knew her daughter better than anyone else in the world. Natalia had never touched recreational drugs. She barely drank alcohol, afraid it would interfere with her studies. Most importantly, Natalia called her mother every single day, except for the 3 days leading up to her death, when her calls became increasingly frantic and fearful. "Mama, I think I'm in serious trouble," Natalia had whispered during their final conversation. "If something happens to me, promise you won't let them say it was my fault." Armed with a mother's intuition and an engineer's analytical mind, Olga began her own investigation. She sold her apartment, liquidated her savings, and hired private investigators in 3 different countries. What she discovered would have sent shockwaves through Dubai's elite, if anyone had been willing to listen. The leaked toxicology report that reached Olga 6 months later revealed the true horror of her daughter's final hours. The drug levels weren't just lethal, they were impossible to self-administer. The sedatives found in Natalia's system would have rendered her unconscious within minutes, making it physically impossible for her to arrange the neat lines of cocaine that police claimed she had been using. But the most damning evidence was buried in the medical examiner's original notes, which a sympathetic hospital worker secretly photographed before they were destroyed. Natalia had defensive wounds consistent with fighting for her life. Bruising around her throat indicated manual strangulation. Traces of skin under her fingernails proved she had scratched her attacker. Olga contacted every major news outlet in Europe and North America. Most wouldn't even return her calls. The few journalists who showed initial interest quickly backed away after receiving legal threats from high-powered Dubai law firms. One reporter privately admitted, "We can't touch stories involving certain wealthy individuals in that region. The legal risks are too enormous." The Ukrainian embassy provided polite sympathy but no real assistance. "These matters are complex," they explained. "We must respect Dubai's sovereignty in their internal investigations." Translation: trade relationships with wealthy Gulf states were more valuable than justice for one dead student. Here's what absolutely infuriates me about this whole situation. Every single week, I bring you stories that expose exactly how corruption and power work together to destroy innocent lives. Every week, you get information that could literally save someone you care about from becoming the next victim. Yet most of you watch without subscribing, taking this knowledge for granted while mothers like Olga fight impossible battles completely alone. If supporting justice isn't worth a simple subscription, what is? When will you finally decide that truth matters enough to hit that subscribe button? Olga's investigation revealed a pattern of suspicious deaths involving young foreign women and wealthy Dubai businessmen. Cases that were quickly classified as accidents, suicides, or overdoses. Families who were pressured to accept financial settlements in exchange for their silence. a system designed to protect predators and abandon victims. After 3 years of fighting, Olga had spent every penny she owned and exhausted every legal avenue available to her. The machine had won again, just as it always did. But her daughter's story was far from over. Natalia's case isn't an isolated incident. It's a window into a much larger and more terrifying reality. What happened to her represents a systematic pattern of abuse, murder, and institutional cover-ups that have been operating in Dubai for decades, hidden beneath the city's glamorous exterior. Consider the case of Elena Kozlova, a 24-year-old Russian model who accidentally fell from a hotel balcony in 2019 after breaking up with a prominent real estate developer. Or Maria Santos, a 22-year-old Brazilian dancer who allegedly overdosed in 2020 following a heated argument with her millionaire boyfriend at an exclusive beach club. The pattern is always identical. Young, foreign women with limited financial resources become involved with wealthy, powerful men. When these women try to assert independence or end the relationships, they mysteriously die under circumstances that authorities quickly classify as accidents or suicides. Families are pressured to accept financial settlements and sign non-disclosure agreements. Evidence disappears. Witnesses develop selective amnesia. What makes this systematic destruction of justice possible is Dubai's unique position as a code playground for international wealth. Billionaires from dozens of countries have invested heavily in the city's infrastructure, creating a web of financial relationships that makes challenging the powerful virtually impossible. When someone like Idris commits murder, he's not just protected by local corruption. He's shielded by international business interests worth hundreds of billions of dollars. The victims are always chosen for their vulnerability. International students, aspiring models, young professionals working temporary visas. Women who lack powerful connections, legal resources, or families wealthy enough to demand justice. Women whose deaths can be explained away without major international incidents. But here's what really disturbs me. This system continues to operate because the international community chooses to look the other way. Governments prioritize trade relationships over human rights. Media outlets avoid stories that might anger wealthy advertisers. Even human rights organizations remain suspiciously quiet about these cases. Smash that subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this. Because I guarantee you that while most people are scrolling through social media, ignoring the real dangers in our world, more young women are walking into traps exactly like the one that killed Natalia. Your subscription could literally save someone's life by ensuring you see these stories and the lessons they teach reach other people on YouTube. The cost of absolute power isn't just measured in individual victims. It's measured in the complete erosion of justice itself. When wealthy men can literally purchase immunity from murder charges, when evidence can be destroyed with a phone call, when witnesses can be silenced with threats or bribes, we're not just talking about isolated crimes. We're talking about the collapse of civilization's most basic promise. That justice exists for everyone, regardless of wealth or status. Natalia's story isn't just a tragedy. It's a masterclass in recognizing the warning signs that could save your life or the life of someone you love. Let me share the crucial lessons that every person needs to understand, especially if you're young, ambitious, and vulnerable to predators who disguise themselves as mentors. Lesson 1. Excessive generosity is a weapon. When someone you barely know starts showering you with expensive gifts, luxury experiences, or financial support, ask yourself why. Genuine mentors invest in your skills and connections, not your dependence on their money. Predators use generosity to create debt and obligation that they'll collect with interest later. Lesson 2. Isolation is intentional. If someone constantly criticizes your friends, discourages contact with family, or creates drama whenever you spend time with other people, they're not protecting you. They're isolating you. Healthy relationships encourage your connections with others. Dangerous relationships systematically destroy them. Lesson 3. Your gut instincts are smarter than their explanations. Natalia knew something was wrong during those final weeks. Her texts to friends showed increasing fear and desperation. When every conversation becomes an argument, when you're constantly walking on eggshells, when you feel trapped instead of supported, trust those feelings over their reassurances. Lesson 4. Document everything. Keep records of concerning behaviors, threatening messages, and controlling demands. Share your worries with trusted friends regularly. Create a paper trail that can't be deleted or denied later. Natalia's final text to her roommate became crucial evidence that her death wasn't accidental. Lesson 5. Financial independence equals physical safety. Never allow anyone to become your sole source of income or housing. Maintain your own bank account, keep emergency money hidden, and always have somewhere else to go. The moment you become completely financially dependent is the moment you become completely vulnerable. Here's my challenge to you. Drop a comment right now sharing one warning sign you've learned to recognize in controlling relationships. Your experience could literally save someone's life. Someone reading this comment section might be in a dangerous situation right now, desperately looking for validation that their fears are justified. Your story could be the encouragement they need to escape before it's too late. But here's what really bothers me. Thousands of you will watch this entire video, learn these life-saving lessons, and then scroll away without engaging. If protecting innocent people isn't worth a simple comment, what is? How many more Natalias need to die before we start taking these warnings seriously? The truth is, we can't bring Natalia back. We can't undo the corruption that let her killer walk free. But we can honor her memory by refusing to let her story be forgotten, by learning from her tragic experience, and by speaking up when we see others walking into similar traps. If this video opens your eyes, hit that like button, subscribe for more truth-telling content, and turn on notification bells so you never miss these crucial warnings. Thank you for watching, and remember, your awareness could save a life.